report comes out from Christopher Knox from the Bleacher Report, and he says one of the most critical things for the Cleveland Browns is who's going to call the plays for the team. And how crucial do you think that is with Baker Mayfield for him to get a bounce-back season? How crucial is it for him to either have the head coach or the offensive coordinator making the calls? What do you think?
I think we probably talk about this too much, but it's fun. But the idea, I think what matters is scheme, right? What matters is how you run offense. And that's going to come from the head coach, at least if it's an offensive head coach. That's going to come from the head coach, whether the coach actually calls the plays on game day or not. So Baker Mayfield is going to run Kevin Stefanski's offense. That's going to be a lot of two tight ends. That's going to be a lot of outside zone. That's going to be a lot of play action. That's going to be more under center. That's going to happen regardless of whether Kevin Stefanski or Alex Van Pelt actually calls the play in seconds before the snap on a Sunday.
You know, I'm going back in history, and I can't think of too many. I mean, there are a few, but not too many non-head coaches who get a lot of credit for calling the plays. It seems that if I'm Stefanski, and this is my first year and I worked real hard to get here, I want to make sure I've got control of the total team. And I can't believe that these guys need to have the on their resume the fact that they were play callers. I don't care who calls the plays. I want to make sure that the head coach knows, should he accept the penalty, should he go for it on fourth down. Those aren't play calling. Those are strategy moves that only it might be a gut feeling to go to if you're the new head coach.
I think it takes a lot of courage to not call plays, because a lot of these guys, when you're an offensive head coach, you got hired in large part because you were good at calling plays. And so now you're going to say, I finally got where I wanted to be, and now don't do the thing that got me there.
It's a different job. It's fun, but it's a different job. Getting the job because you were a good head coach doesn't mean that you're hired to be the head coach. You're not hired to do what you did in the other city and just call plays. You got to do more than that.
I did what I normally do with things like this, Les, which is I let someone else do the work for me. So I was looking for this, and I found an ESPN story from 2017. I'm constantly curious, well, what's more common? Offensive coordinators calling plays or a head coach calling plays? I couldn't find a reference, and I didn't want to go look it up myself. But in 2017, this ESPN story said that of the 32 teams in the NFL, 12 head coaches were calling plays and 20 offensive coordinators were calling plays. And of those 12 head coaches who called plays in 2017, 6 of them are still head coaches for the team they coach. 6 of them are not. But I think it can be hard because, for instance, the hot new head coaches who take over and do call plays do get a lot of credit. Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan. And those are the guys that Kevin Stefanski is getting lumped in with. So I think it's very tempting to want to do that. This was of great interest to me last year because Ryan Day at Ohio State and Freddie Kitchens with the Browns were both hired because of their play calling. They had been the play caller with that team the year before. They were now head coaches, and they were both going to keep play calling. It worked for Ryan Day. It didn't work for Freddie Kitchens. So what should Kevin Stefanski do? I think it would be very possible for Kevin Stefanski to say, this is the offense we're going to run. It's my offense, but Alex Van Pelt, he's going to call it on Sunday.
You can always change it back if you have to do that. No question about that.
You make the game plan. You just let that guy do the actual stuff on Sunday. So, as you said, Les, you can do all the other things a head coach has to do during a game.
All right, Christopher Knox of Bleacher Report said this is something the Browns need to sort out long before the regular season opener. Poor play calling was one of the biggest problems for the Browns on offense last year, and it contributed to a disappointing second season for quarterback Baker Mayfield. Freddie Kitchens proved incapable of handling both head coaching duties and play calling. If Stefanski has any doubt about his ability to do both, he should strongly consider giving the play responsibility to Van Pelt to open up the season. I think it's pretty easy. Freddie, Kevin Stefanski is not going to get fired this year, so I don't think the pressure of being a successful play caller comes into play. No pun intended. I don't believe it comes into play this year. I mean, Stefanski's going to, unless he goes, dare I say, 0-13. I don't see how you could ever fire the guy.
Why would you put that out into the world, Les?
Yeah, I forgot. That'll never happen. Don't worry about it.
I think probably the most reasonable solution here to me is Kevin Stefanski winds up calling plays this year just because he can't quite help himself, right? And listen, the other thing about this is it's not like Kevin Stefanski has been calling plays for 10 years. He called plays for the Vikings for 3 years at the end of 2018 and last season. So he's basically done it for a year. It's not like if he didn't get to call plays, he would have to extricate himself from this thing that he's done for a decade. He's new to this. But also, he's so new to it, he might not want to give it up right now.
Well,
I think it would be reasonable. He calls them this year, and then he establishes what the Kevin Stefanski Cleveland offense looks like.
Right.
And then the next year, he gives it to Alex Van Pelt, but that this year is a year for Alex Van Pelt to learn what Kevin Stefanski wants to do. Kevin Stefanski gets it out of his system, and then moving forward, it's Alex Van Pelt calling the Kevin Stefanski off.
I thought that Freddie Kitchens was so surprised that he got the job that he didn't want to make any changes. If there was an opportunity for him to continue to call plays, he was going to do it. You just got the feeling that he was afraid to give it up, and he was afraid what would happen if he did give it up and it wasn't successful. I mean, but there's clearly a difference with how much rope is being given to Stefanski and to Freddie Kitchens.
And I also know, and Mary Kay Cabot has talked about this. I think Hugh Jackson has talked about this on his media tour that he's doing now to promote his book. Hugh Jackson regrets giving up play calling and having Todd Haley call the plays in the year when Hugh Jackson got fired, when Hugh Jackson, again, was a guy who got a shot to be the Browns head coach, and he had been a head coach before, but really he made his name as a play caller, made his name as an offensive coordinator. So he comes here. There were times when he did call plays, times when he didn't, but I think in the end, Hugh didn't like the idea that he went out not calling the plays because you just feel more in control when you're doing that. But again, I think that means you have to have confidence in yourself and in the people you hire. And part of the issue for Hugh Jackson was that he didn't really hire Todd Haley.
Right.
But if Kevin Stefanski believed in the Alex Van Pelt hire, I think it would be a lot of confidence for him to give that up. And also, to your point about Freddie, I don't know that we knew what a Freddie Kitchens offense was, right? Freddie was a lot about sort of in the moment, hey, here's kind of this wrinkle play, and here's kind of this thing. I think we do know what a Kevin Stefanski offense is. So we could see a Kevin Stefanski offense in 2020 that's really effective, that's called by Alex Van Pelt. I think that really could work. I guess I disagree with the premise. If the Bleacher Report guy says they've got to figure this out, I don't think they have to, of course they have to come to an answer. You can't have the first snap of the 2020 season and be like, hey, who's going to call the play for this one, you or me? You have to answer the question, but I don't think it's like some great, I think it could work either way, and I think that they could experiment in the preseason, and a week before the season starts, Kevin Stefanski could say, okay, this is what I decided, and this is what we're going to do. I don't think it's this great big thing hovering over them. No, I think it's 50.
They still have the first 20 plays scripted, so somebody's got to script them.
Well, that's the thing, right? I mean, if Kevin Stefanski hands over the play calling to Van Pelt, Stefanski can still say, okay, you're calling them, by the way. Here are the first 20 that you're going to call.
And here are the next 20.
And by the way, you're the head coach. And this is how Urban Meyer was doing it a lot. You're calling them, Alex. But by the way, hey, it's 3rd and 3 in the fourth quarter of a tie game. We're running this right now.
Yeah, the head coach can always take over the play calling. No question about that.